Good morning. Jinx. Happy Friday. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, very good. Thank you, Jesus. So for today's topic, Cynthia, I thought, how best to encourage moms, especially with your walk that you've had with your son. I thought, why don't we dig a little bit deeper about your experience and how you were able to target learning challenges with your child. I keep saying the word I need to drink some more tea. But, and I thought about this because, now that school has started for some, or school that's about to start for some, like myself, we're starting next week already. I thought little things such as even letter reversals. I know, for example, when I looked at that and I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness, what do I do? And you immediately start to think, what have I done? What am I not doing correctly? So I wanted to just tap a little bit into that. When you see letter reversals, for example, what does that indicate? What does that tell you about your child and your experience? I'm really eager to learn how it was that you discovered learning challenges with your son and how you were able to navigate that.
Okay. Well, first of all, letter reversals are very normal until the child turns about 9 or 10. So, third grade, don't worry about it. We all have to learn directionality. I've taken aerobics classes over and over throughout the years, and whenever the teacher says, let's go right, there'll be somebody that'll go left, and she'll go, well, you're other right. So, everybody has a little bit of problems with directionality. In fact, whenever I tell someone directions, I have to kind of look at my hands and make sure I'm talking about my left hand with my wedding ring on it versus my right hand, because I get confused, and I've never been learning disabled. So directionality is a problem a lot of people worry, it is a problem for a lot of people. Now, there's a few that it won't be, but a lot of people have a problem with that, even in adulthood. And it doesn't mean they're disabled. But when a child continually reverses and it's constant and it does not go away, that we say usually about 9 or 10. And also, one of the things you'll notice is that sometimes children will switch hands that they use. Sometimes they'll use their left hand, sometimes they'll use their right. And that is going to take a while sometimes for that to be, for the dominant hand to emerge. That's not a problem. When you have a disabled child, you'll have a kind of a cluster of other things. For instance, Caleb was such a perfectionist. And whenever he made a mistake, he would throw himself on the floor and scream, 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 scream. And my other kids didn't like it when they made a mistake, but his reaction was way over the top. And then he was also trying to avoid it any way he could. One of the things that he had to deal with was seizures. And when it came time to do school, he knew he had seizures, so he thought he would try to fake a seizure. Of course, when he really has a seizure, he would go unconscious, and so he had no idea what he did. But he would try to fake that he was not normal. I mean, you could tell he was clever, but he didn't quite, that it wasn't really what it was. It wasn't a seizure. So he was doing everything he could to avoid it, because it was hard. It was so hard. And, school can be hard for some kids, especially little boys are not, they mature later and all that kind of stuff. So, they may be that way. But there were so many signs so many areas where he could not do it, and he wasn't teasing. He really could not do it. And it broke his little heart, because he wanted to be absolutely perfect at everything, and yet he failed at everything. So there was a real obvious thing there, that everything we asked him to look at, he reversed a 5. He would make it into a 2 because he flipped it one way and then the other way. So it was really very obvious. Now, it's not at all common for little boys, and little boys have a lot more disabilities than girls do, for just to be super squirmy. That is totally normal. They have a lot of testosterone. Testosterone bathes their brain in the womb. And so they're going to be a little bit more squirmy. They're not going to be like your little girls and just sit down and do school, because they're warriors, even in a little boy.
Right.
that does not mean that they have disabilities. So don't panic really, really early.
That's great. And I love that you said, don't panic really, really early. Because I think that's wonderful. And I really wanted to just share that with moms and dads out there is like I'm really glad you gave that age spectrum. You know, this is the time that you feel, or you know, when you consistently see over and over and over again, different behaviors, that's when you're like, okay, well, maybe we should get an evaluation. Maybe we should ask for someone to look into this. So that's good.
Even listening for a little boy might be difficult. And remember that your kids may have different learning styles. Typically, a young child is going to have a learning style where he or she needs to touch it and feel it and be involved with it. But as they grow older, they're going to have either an auditory or a visual, you know, and it'll vary. But that hands-on kind of changes. But if you have a child who has an auditory problem, you can say something to them and they won't get it. So be alert for that, but it doesn't mean early, especially early, it doesn't mean that they have something.
Right. You know, I love how, you know, I heard someone say the other day to us, you know, they're dyslexic as a parent, and they also have dyslexic children. And I love how the father said the following: it doesn't mean they're broken.
No.
It just means that they learn differently.
They do
and someone that has dyslexia is actually more creative.
Yes.
So, you know, so I love that, you know, we're in this society like, oh, we're all broken, or, you know, so no, let's not think that, you know, there is something different, but we can change it around and say, wait a minute, let's look at they're more creative, or they just learn differently versus, you know, oh, my child is broken, something's wrong with him, blah, blah, blah. So, and Cynthia, again, you've walked this road.
I have.
Walked it,
who is dyslexic could very well be a global thinker, in the sense that you can't explain to them. They need to see, a lot of times they become mechanics. You can't explain to them how the motor's put together. They have to kind of look at it and explore it and all that kind of stuff. And then they will see how the whole thing fits together. And it's not something that necessarily you or I could teach, but they just think differently. And they're so oriented to that they'll probably, a lot of them become mechanics because so fine. And just remember that unfortunately, our language, we read left to right. Hebrew reads the other direction. It reads right to left. So when you teach kids to read, you have to teach some directionality, because that's what we do when we read. But it's totally okay to think a different way. And you have gifts even. A lot of times kids that are dyslexic are very intelligent. They just think a little differently.
Yeah. And then for those parents who perhaps are walking the road where you've walked, Cynthia, what do you suggest? Should they first go to the pediatrician? What do you suggest, like the first 3 steps that they should take?
You could go to your pediatrician and express your concerns, because hopefully you have a relationship with your pediatrician and he or she knows your child, and that would kind of guide you into who to see next. A lot of times, if you're really concerned, you can see an education specialist or a neuropsychologist to get more information. If you're in the school system, they will start looking at you. But I always chose my own doctors because I didn't want to be reliant on who the school system chose. So I kind of did my own thing and found my own doctors, because I wanted people, obviously I was homeschooling, I wanted people who would favor what I was doing.
Right, right. All right. Well, I really hope this topic has helped so many moms out there. Like I said, for those starting school already, for those who are about to, I think it's really great. And if you all have any other questions regarding, you know, special needs or any type of learning disability, please contact Cynthia. I mean, she's a plethora of experience with her walk. And I think, you know, I'm just so grateful, Cynthia, that we can come to you and ask you these questions versus just going online and going crazy.
Because you get
someone to talk to.
Normal to be nervous about it.
All right. Well, thank you, Cynthia. I'll catch you next week. Okay.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.